In this video, we'll take a look at the display depth, which is useful in a congested 3D design, where it's very useful sometimes to restrict how much of the drawing you can actually see and work in. You can control how much of the design is visible in each separate view by using the Set Display Depth tool to locate a front and a back clipping plane. You cannot see elements in front of or behind the respective clipping planes, and the active depth must be located between the clipping planes. You'll see how this works in a second. Think of the display depth as a thick sandwich. The bread on the top and the bottom represent the locations of the clipping planes, while the visible elements are represented by the filling in the sandwich. Setting the location of clipping planes is similar to setting the active depth, in that you need two perpendicular views. Let's set the display depth in the top view, and you'll see how this works. Now at the moment, the active depth is at the top surface of the step block. We drew the circle using the fact that our active depth was in the top surface. Now we'll start the correct tool for this, which is the Set Depth tool. So click on that. Note there's nothing in the tool settings window to work with, but again, watch the prompts in the status line. And it's asking us to select the view for the display depth. I'm going to use the top view. So I click in the top view. And immediately in the other three views, I see various bits of information. If you look at the front view below, the horizontal line running across is in line with the top face of the step block. That's the active depth location. And if I zoom outwards in the front view, you'll see that we have an enclosure here which represents the current location of the front and back clipping planes for the display depth in the top view, since that's the view we're working with. So I'm going to zoom in to my front view. I'm going to set the location of the front and back clipping planes. This is the front plane I'm dragging. I'm going to locate that just above that top face. Left click. And now I'm dragging the back clipping plane, and I'm going to set that just below the top face. So left click there. The tool has finished. Now in the top view, which is where I'm setting the display depth, I shouldn't be able to see this part of the step block at all. It should not be visible because that's below my back clipping plane. So what I need to do now is go to View Attributes and turn on Clip Back and Clip Front. Now we don't see the bottom part of the step block. In other words, I've isolated this part of the step block in the top view. So just visualize a very, very congested drawing with many elements, and you only want to work on a small volume of those elements. If you isolate in this way, then it's easier to work without the distraction of the other elements. Now keep in mind that the active depth must be between the clipping planes. And in fact, if you do set an active depth which is outside the active depth location, then the back clipping plane that you set becomes the location of the active depth, which may not be what you want. So you do have to be a little careful about that, and you have to know where the current active depth is before you place more clipping planes. Now we've isolated the element in the top view, and only the top view, since you must set an active depth in each separate view for that view. Note also that the clipping planes are always perpendicular to each view, in other words, along the view's z-axis, which is exactly what we've done in the top view. So please practice. Try placing clipping planes in the other views and seeing what happens. Don't be surprised if you see some odd results happening. When you've finished experimenting, please set the active depth in each of the views way above and way below the actual elements, so that the elements are fully visible in each view.